What's going on, guys? Just wanted to stop in here real quick. I'm taking a walk on my property and beautiful day. Obviously, you can see behind me, and that's actually not a cloud. It's actually a trail. I call it chemical trail. Beautiful day. Inhaling some aluminum and barium, titanium. Okay, I get it. I'm being facetious. So yeah, just walking the property, and I was thinking about some things earlier, and I thought I'd just hop on here real quick. So obviously, I told you about my background, and the podcast. This is something that isn't for me. This is for people who want to get free spiritually, mentally, and physically, and they're all interconnected, right? They're all intertwined. Okay, and so with that being said, you see the title, about liberty and freedom. And, I've said this many times before, and, I have revelations every now and then because, I'm the type that kind of, I'm like that pit bull. Once I see something that I know in my mind and my spirit that's, you know, truth, and because, truth is based on law, righteous law. And I want to jump on it, right? And I want to learn it in and out. Okay, I want to assimilate it. I want to learn the laws within the laws and everything. So I've been thinking a lot lately about liberty and freedom. And most people don't really know what that really truly means. I'm learning as I, go about my studying, my research, my cross-referencing, everything. So you got to be your own best lawyer. I got to look down here and watch out for these goose patties, if you know what I mean. It's like a war field over here. But anyway, so liberty has a lot to do with trying to be free from restrictions, authority, especially corporations, which hopefully you guys know that. Hopefully municipalities and states are, and the United States of America was incorporated in 1871, so they operate through bylaws, right? And there's two of everything. There's two constitutions. There are two governments, and if you don't know that, that's where your problem is. Okay, that's where your problem is. And so liberty has to do with moral and legal responsibility. Okay, and so a lot of people, it's a Sunday, man. Hopefully you guys are having a great Sunday. They're people are just kind of chilling, maybe at the pool, maybe they're driving, whatever. Right now. And they're just enjoying the day, and they're just hey, I'm free, I have the ability to do this, say this. My question to you would be, do you have the ability? I don't care where you are on this planet, right? Now, many of you may not know this, but you have an inheritance. Okay, and I talked about this before, and every inheritance starts. Well, number one, an inheritance is given once someone dies, right? And I'm not going to get heavily into this, but you actually have an inheritance. You just don't know it, right? And I talked about this before. There was a true story of a lady. She was like a servant. That's another word for employee or slave of this. I think this is a pretty well-off family. I don't remember the name of them, but this was actually a true story. So she had served the family for about 30 years, right? 30 years. And maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 40 years. Well, anyway, so the last of the heirs, or the lady, she passed, and I think her mate passed before her. And so there was no longer needed as far as her services for that family. And so what happened is that before the lady had passed, she gave her servant a little plaque, and it had her name on it. It had, some contractual things on it. Well, the problem is that how do you keep people servants? You don't teach them how to read. And let me give you a hint. How come in America the literacy level is really low? That's a darn shame. Yeah, we're the most sophisticated, so to speak, best technology, so to speak, right? Or not technology that we know about publicly, right? As we know, a lot of things are hidden, as above, so below. Hopefully, you can read into that a little bit later on. But, we're considered, as some people would say, the wealthiest nation in the world. And I'm not sure what their metric is with that. But so, with that technology, let me get back to my story so I stay on point. So this lady didn't know how to read, and so the bottom line is that that's how you keep somebody a servant, a slave, right? Because they don't know how to read, right? Or write, right? Some basic right, inherent right that we were given by the creator, the Lord, the king, right? So anyway, so she took the plaque home, and I kid you not, she had the plaque on her and up in her living room, and she was just adoring the plaque, right? And some of her family would come over, some of her friends would come over, and one day, finally, somebody read the complete plaque, and I think it was either on the back of it or the front of it. I can't remember, but as the story goes, it was actually a deed to property, right? A land patent. Can you believe that? Land patent. Some of y'all never heard that before, right? If you're in a different country, you may know that. But in the Western world, since everything has been monetized and commercialized and corporatized, you know, you're supposed to have a land patent. And see, land, that's the first letter in law. Follow me now. So you got law. I just was talking to this student earlier, and he was thinking about becoming an attorney and had no idea what law is. So we have a society, especially in the Western world and different parts in the Eastern world, of ignorance, and that ignorance means lack of knowledge, right? And it's controlled. That's why you want to, when you have people, who want to control people, all you got to do is get a bunch of resources together and control their information. Did you hear what I just said? Control their information. Control not just their information, their media, because obviously when you do that, you can control what they think, right? And when you control how somebody thinks, you control, guess what? Their belief system. Okay, you form a belief system, and your attitude, your perspective of how you see the world. That's how you see you is how you see the world. Okay, and so what I learned is that when you do that, that determines a person's philosophy or a man's philosophy. I'm still trying to get that out of my vocabulary, because Black's law says a person under, I think it's the Uniform Commercial Code, means a federal corporation or entity. Well, you and I are not, we're a peoples, right? We're a people. We're a man, we're a woman, right? That's either one, right? That's part of the mankind, right? Created in the king's image, okay, on the same plane. So with that being said, and see, a lot of this is very foreign, just like it was years ago to me. And don't get me wrong, I'm still learning. I'm still a student. I'll forever stay a student. But if you keep listening to something over and over and over again, instead of the crap that's on TV, majority of that crap will keep you broke, it keep you busted, it keep you frustrated. It messes with you spiritually, it messes with you mentally, it messes with you physically. And we just don't understand who we are. I like to say mankind is a bunch of lost kings. And I mean females also too, because spiritually there's no gender, okay, in the spiritual realm and unseen realm. I'll just leave it like that. So liberty, going back to liberty, that has to do with moral and legal responsibility. Okay, now the freedom part, if you break that word down, freedom, look at free, right? And people think, oh yeah, something's free. A lot of times people don't value things that are free, right? Until you put a price on it. Okay, I'm not going to get into that, but there's a whole nother sea of information I can get into that based on law and principles. Okay, based upon the creator and the king, right? Of whom you came out of. So when you have a king has offspring, right? Sprung off from the king, right? If you have a daughter or a son, then you have offspring or that sprung out through you. Okay. Now, so freedom, when you look at it, you got free and you got dumb. So you got free and then you got dominion. Okay. Dom is short for dominion. Okay. See, this is stuff I'm telling you right now, you won't learn at your JOB. Your boss won't tell you this. Your professor won't tell you this because he or she doesn't know it. Majority of them don't. You won't hear this at the office tomorrow. You won't hear it at the office cooler tomorrow. You won't get that from your boss. You won't get that from your university. I'm telling you stuff that took me quite some time to know. I wish somebody had explained to me, when I was younger, right? And obviously I'd be a lot further along in every area of my life. But I vowed that I'm going to take the knowledge that I do have and I'm going to give it as much as I can to other people who want to listen. And eventually that want will turn into a desire. So I do know statistically, probably maybe about 80% of you will ignore me. You scroll by, that's fine. When life puts enough pressure on you and things start crumbling around, then that's when people, when you look through history, they start looking up. You know what I'm saying? They start questioning a whole bunch of things. So that freedom from dominion, liberty and freedom, that actually, they're like peanut butter and jelly, so to speak. They're kind of like Batman and Robin. They go hand in hand, okay? And since they go hand in hand, you have to understand what they actually mean. Like I am currently myself learning more and more about that. So I just wanted to hop on here. I know it's a little bit over 12 minutes. And again, I hope you guys are having a great Sunday, getting ready for the week. Hopefully you're not wasting time with the time that you got because you don't know how long that time before it runs out, right? And I hope you understand that there's no mistake. Mankind is not a mistake. You're not a mistake. Even though we do sin, we do rebel, we do commit anarchy, we do commit high treason, but there was a solution to that long time ago, okay? And so what I want to encourage you to do is learn the system that you're in and understand that there has been a prison put around us, okay? An invisible prison. Because you always hear me say that prison is actually in the mind, and it's so true. I don't care. People are capped in the mind, okay? People are capped in the mind. So the reason why a lot of times people can't accomplish certain things, no matter how hard they try, is because there's something wrong. There's beliefs about themselves that were put in there. And most of those beliefs, as I said before, is very simple. We were taught to self-hatred, self-cancellation, self-dislike, all kind of self things to down ourselves, right? That was woven in on purpose, right? Now, when you think about an inheritance, here's what I wanted to say earlier. When you think about an inheritance, think of it like this. So somebody had to die, right? And for you to get it, did you have to pay for that inheritance? No, you didn't have to pay for that inheritance. Okay? That inheritance is given to you free, right? You just have to see, freedom has to do with internal. Okay, knowing who you are. My gosh, if some of y'all get this. Woo. It's identity. Okay? So most people get their identity from their color. I mean, please stop it, because you can't go back far enough and find out what you are, and who you are is not what you are, and that's the problem with most people. They don't know that. They don't know who they are, so they don't know where they're from, and they don't know where they're from and what they're supposed to do and what their origin is, because they don't know who they are, right? We weren't taught that. And a lot of things that we were taught was off somewhere in the woods, where it's dark and our identity is always attached to some clothes or shoes or a title, or it has nothing to do with any of that. My gosh, I wish I had learned this when I was younger. So once that once that king or queen dies and they have an inheritance, that's given to the prince or princess. Okay. And obviously, that prince becomes a king and that princess becomes a queen. And I'm telling you, you guys should look this up because you are, whether you know it or not, you definitely are. I don't give a rip how much cash flow, I don't care how many digits, I don't care what so-called authority or power, what government system or anything like that. I know this to be 100% truth because I already have the revelation of that. And I know that me being a king, I'm in charge of a certain area, right, of gifting, of abilities that's already been put inside me, and I'm developing those abilities, mastering those abilities one at a time, right? So I already have a vision that was already implanted in me, and you have a vision that was already implanted in you. Okay, I don't care how ugly you think you are, or handsome, or good looking, or beautiful, has nothing to do with that. A seed does what a seed does when it's put in the right environment and has the right nutrients, has the right environment, right? Did you hear what I just said? A seed, which you and I are, right? Planted in the right environment. In other words, ingesting the right culture through information, the right information through our ear and eye gates constantly. Okay? Because we already know, truthfully, that we are where we are right now. Everybody's where they are right now in every area of their life, whether they like it or not, based upon what they believe about themselves, what they think about themselves. Okay? So some of the things that I've accomplished in this few short years that I've accomplished, I look back and I was like, whoa, why did it take me this long? It's because the prison is in the mind. It was the system of, listen to what I said. I said the system of thoughts. You've heard that so many times with people say it's in the system. Yes, it is in the system. There's a trap of thinking, a way of thinking that the world says, how can I put this? Who they think you should be. Okay? They think you should be. Right? I don't care. Listen, this is my thought process. I love my family and everything like that, right? But I don't get my self-image from any man or woman on this planet. Look at all the problems that we have in our life. Look at all the problems that we have, right? Myself included, or should I say challenges. We have challenges in our, right? So I'm constantly trying to find out, I'm trying to search for more laws, whether it be reading, right? Oh my gosh, hey, let me stop and check this out. Check this out, guys. Look who came to my Talking Head podcast. Say hello, guys. I ain't gonna get too close because there's mommy and daddy right there. Look at that right there. That's cool. All right, so let me go ahead and wrap this up because I got to get back. So, yeah, so like I said before, walking the property, and wanted to stop in here and just drop some nuggets here or there for you guys, man. I hope you guys have a great, Sunday. Just remember that you guys are you're worth more than you think you are. And please tune in Thursday, not for my sake, because I already know where I'm headed. I already have it written down. I already have a plan. I already know what to do. I already have a lot of the principles. I don't have everything figured out, but I don't need everything figured out just to take the steps, right? See, most of y'all, that's y'all biggest problem right there, is that you waiting for the perfect time. See, that's part of the, I don't believe in myself, right? That's part of the self-image problem, which most people have, right? Majority of people on the planet have a very low self-image of themselves, okay? And again, I'm not saying it's your fault, but we were taught that. And you said, hey, I never thought about that like that before. I never heard that before, Tyreek. And that's fine. But I'm telling you right now, if you want to control how you think, number one, you have to understand that you do have a low self-image. And I believe I have a low self-image in certain areas that I need to improve on, right? It takes a lot of guts to say something like that because I know I'm not perfect, right? Not trying to be perfect, but I'm trying to have a standard of excellence. And we all should strive to have one, right? So me finding out different laws in those areas that I need to get better at is going to help me. The right knowledge, right? What did I say before? The right knowledge plus what? The understanding. Eventually, when you understand something, you're going to overstand something. You should look that word up. It's very important. And then you're going to apply it, right? That which is wisdom. Okay, you got to have the right application. You can do the first two, but if you don't apply it, it's like you never even. It doesn't matter, right? Okay. So again, liberty and freedom. You should look those words up, etymology, because they're very, very important, right? See, a lot of people think that they're free because they have material things, right? But they're in bondage to a title. They're in bondage to maybe a school or university. Maybe they're in bondage to a position. You know, maybe they're in bondage to whatever. You know what I'm saying? But hey, here's what I realized. Whatever you got to be hungry for something, right? You got to be hungry, right? Now, some people won't leave the plantation. I get it, right? If you look back in history, there's been slavery all around the world. There's a lot of slavery going on now. Child trafficking, child sacrifice. And don't let the people on TV fool you, okay? As we've been finding out, okay? Don't let the three-piece suits and the ties and those different positions out there fool you, because who can afford that the most, you know, to buy a child, right? I know that sounds terrible, but that's been going on for thousands of years, and and men, I'm talking to the men now, you need to wake up, okay? Because what's going to happen is if you don't wake up, when you do wake up, by the time you wake up, you're going to find yourself, I guarantee you, living in regret. And guess what? Once time passes, you can't go back, okay? So y'all know what I'm talking about, you know. The prison is in the mind. The attack is on our minds to keep us there, right? And let me tell you something. When it's all said and done, the people who are behind a lot of this type of stuff, they don't plan on you still breathing in the natural. Did you hear what I just said? I said they don't plan on you, your wife, your husband, your child, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. Yeah, you heard me say it. They don't plan on you breathing, right? Okay? Check out the Georgia Guidestones. Look that up, Georgia Guidestones. I call them the anti-10 commandments. They're written on there. And the first thing it says on the Georgia Guidestones, okay? Hopefully the AI doesn't block this or whatever. But if so, what the heck? So what? But anyway, so the first thing it says is that to reduce the world's population to a half a billion. Okay, look it up. You should look it up right now. I don't care what country you're in, Georgia Guidestones. And believe you me, if you're in another country, hey, they have you on their radar too. They're already working on you too, okay? Working on your country too, to put you in bondage. And I mean not just you, but generations forever, okay, in this natural world. But there's some other things that are coming also too to put it into all this also too. I'm not going to get into, but I know 100%. But anyway, you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Hey, don't forget that the future is not ahead of you guys, okay? Your future is actually trapped on the inside of you in the form of a seed, okay? And you got to get that seed in the right area, right? If you lower your ego and you lower your pride, I promise you, you'll move forward like I did, okay? Like I am, okay? And will continue to be, right? Not saying everything's going to go right. Not everything's going to go your way. It's not. But see, at least I know here, and I'm passing down the laws and principles that I know that succeed in any market, any situation, any emergency, or anything like that. And once you know certain things, you have confidence. So when things come at you, you don't panic, okay? See, that's the problem with most people, is that they panic. Why? Because we have this culture has been built on fear, okay? Fear is real. Yes, it is real. Okay, but this culture is built on fear. So when people don't get out their comfort zone and they don't experience success, since maybe they were a little kid, they get so comfortable spiritually, right? They're going backwards, and guess what happens? It's very simple. The fear increases. Okay, fear of this happening, fear of that happening, worried about this, worried about that. I had a situation where there was a couple in my neighborhood. Hey, it was just no kids. A couple of dogs, and his helpmate, she lost her job. You know what I'm saying? And actually, it wasn't her job. It was obviously somebody else's job. Be the owner of the company. But anyway, so and then his work is slow, right? So you don't know when something like that is going to happen. My question to you is that what are you going to lean on, right? What about when you're I'm not talking about literally, but what about when your house burns down? Okay, what's your attitude going to be then? When you in your own power can't do anything outside of that, who are you going to lean on? Okay, who do you got? Anybody in the natural? What if nobody in the natural can help you out? What do you do then? I already know. I already know who my rock is. So, you guys have a great week, and I will holler at you Thursday. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you're new. Kingdom Diplomat. I'm going to show you how to be the king that you were created to be if you follow me. And we're going to have a great, great time dominating. No matter what comes our way, we'll be able to overcome it. All right. Peace out.